right, what up?
Yo, what's up, y'all? Thank you for joining us. We got the main man Phil behind the ones and twos,
What's up? I
run,
like that.
run the switches. Thank you so much for joining, man. And I'm excited because you saw the new Spider-Man.
Finally, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Waiting forever, it feels
We've
like.
all been so busy, so I'm glad you got to experience it and on your own time. You had to wait a little bit. How'd you avoid spoilers, man? Was it tough avoiding those spoilers?
It was pretty hard. I mean, there was definitely like several days of last week where I just didn't get like I didn't scroll, like
Mm-hmm.
I would open the apps, whatever was at the top, just kind of check in with the group chats and stuff and then yeah, I didn't look at anything on the internet for the most part. And there was a few things that started to get iffy, like, oh, I think this something might have got spoiled for me, but really it didn't. I mean, all the rumors that everybody had been talking about, everything I had heard for the most part turned out to be true.
Yeah, that's funny.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I guess I was setting my expectations low that I was hoping that. So, spoiler alert for everyone out there that has not seen the new Spider-Man movie yet. Just giving y'all a chance to tap out if you don't want to get it spoiled for you. But we're going to be talking about it in its entirety, and that brings me to the point I was just making, which is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They did show up. Very exciting to see this. I'm glad I got to see it in the theater because even though it wasn't like premiere night, fanboy hype.
Yeah.
It was still, there was definitely still an energy that I never, I hate missing those whenever they come out. The first couple of days, the diehard fans are there. And I think I was listening to last week's show. You said you had a homie who doesn't really like the clapping and the reacting and
Uh-huh.
stuff, but I
Yeah.
love it, man. I think it's one of the best reasons to see a movie like that in the theater is just the camaraderie,
I,
so.
I saw a video today of, I guess, someone on like the Thursday night showing, first day showing, and it was like people were mad in there. It was crazy. All you hear is yelling. You hear babies crying. You could barely hear the movie. And then they showed like Andrew Garfield, and someone got out of their seat and did a backflip. I'm like, what? And it's ridiculous. And I guess I heard this other story from this guy who runs a popular YouTube channel, but like his story was he lives in New Jersey, and he said his theater he went to on opening night, him and his wife were like literally scared, like of like people that were there, and one
What?
of the,
Scared
yeah,
of them? Like, why?
when Tobey Maguire showed up, this one dude, like he said in the front row, stood up and said like fuck yeah, fuck yeah. He's like, that's our Spider-Man. Let's go, Brandon. And
Oh
like
no, what?
I'm like, wow, okay. Jeez. Like you can tell, what kind of mentality he has. But
How did the Spider-Man movie go political like in such a short amount of time? I don't
I know,
understand.
right?
Like
It's ridiculous.
Tobey
I,
Maguire shows up, that's all it takes. Like,
I can't believe it, It's just people are going nuts. But I usually try to avoid opening nights. I like to go on Saturday. You give it a couple days buffer, so all the crazies go on opening night, and Saturday nights are pretty packed. But it's like everyone's more calm and not crazy like that. So I can't handle that in my old age.
oh wow, okay, yeah, I still really enjoy it. I mean, I'm kind of a stickler for movies in general. I've kind of uh, I can get it can be ruined for me easily, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like I used to get really bothered by kids or people smacking their lips too hard or all that kind of stuff was just a bit much for me. But the Marvel movies and stuff make it, I don't know. I think it's so much fan service, like the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe is just so much fan service. You can't really uh, go into one of those and not expect to have some of the, cacophony is one of the words I was using earlier this week, which is not one I usually use in passing conversation, but I think it works for this.
My wife and I just came from seeing the new Matrix movie, and it was pretty packed, but it was in the IMAX, and usually we try to see movies in the Dolby. It's just nice. You have nicer seats. They recline back. You have the wall barricade in front of you and behind you, so no one can kick your seat.
Yes.
But Spider-Man has a tight grip on Dolby. That's the only movie that's shown in Dolby, and
Wow.
so Matrix happens to be in the IMAX. Thankfully, at least it's a giant size screen. But the seats suck. People are kicking your seats.
Oh wow.
People are like, rubbing your elbows, and it was a mess. I wasn't a fan, but we're trying to see Kingsman. Also, we like those movies, and that one just came out, so we're gonna go next weekend. But that one's only shown in like the small ass like theater. It's not even showing the IMAX or a Dolby, much less IMAX. But so that's kind of disappointing that Spider-Man, it I guess deserves the hype. I think I liked it overall, but it's like they're holding up the screenings of other movies to be in that kind of experience.
Oh sure. Yeah, it's like it's probably one of the biggest movies in theaters of this year, like.
Yeah, no doubt. It's doing like better than COVID numbers, it's like, yeah.
And the COVID numbers are going to catch up as a result of that, probably, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I want to say it's like second closest to Endgame for
okay.
opening weekend numbers. Yeah, so
yeah, I did see one that it was possibly going to be, and I'm assuming that it's just gotten enough ticket sales rather. It's gotten so many views, like sorry, I'm pretending like it's a YouTube video or something, but even just the trailers,
Yeah, the theater was packed when we left, like more so than when we came in and saw the movie. I'm like, why is it so packed? She's like, well, I'm sure like, kids and their families or whatever want to go, they're done with Christmas and, go hang with your cousins and the out-of-towners, like go to the theater, go to the movies, go see the new Spider-Man, so.
Here we go. Sorry, y'all. I do feel like this weekend has been, as far as media consumption goes, the holidays have kicked in. Everybody's doing that kind of stuff. Like, I only say that because I was even streaming on Thursday, and it was like, I don't know, one of the biggest like streams I've had in a while. And
wow.
I couldn't figure out why. My wife Lee was like, well, everybody's starting to get out of work now and school's out. And so, yeah, people are probably just looking on Twitch and finding stuff. And I mean, it's that time of year.
Yeah, man, for sure. We got 4 people watching on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you, you guys watching on Famra. I forgot to say thank you to our sponsor, Famra. Please go download the Famra app. It is free in the Apple iTunes store or just App Store. And you don't no longer need a code, do you, Phil?
To my knowledge, you don't. I'm pretty sure you can just download it and start playing around. You do not need an invite code.
Very cool. We're chilling in the space environment on Famra, so a lot of fun to be spinning around there.
Yeah, we out here. Well, I'm glad we could, kind of catch up on the Spider-Man movie together because I could not do the show last week where y'all were discussing that. And I feel like the conversations of Spider-Man, we can kind of jump back in and out because the more the new this week is the Hawkeye finale. Episode 6 was the final episode of the Hawkeye run on Disney Plus. I thought it was pretty rad. What did you think?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I think it was one of my more favorite shows from Disney Plus for the Marvel stuff. I think I liked it more than Falcon and Winter Soldier. I guess Captain America and Winter Soldier, I should say. I liked it probably better than I don't know. I really liked WandaVision. That was just so different,
Yeah.
Loki was a lot of fun. It's so important for the MCU, with Kang in there. So it's hard to say that Hawkeye's better, but I had a lot of fun with Hawkeye. At first, I thought I'd have more fun with it. I had high expectations, and I'm not sure if it quite met all those expectations for some reason, because just the comic story is so good as opposed to the show, and it's a different animal. I think I just prefer the story in the comic, but they did very well for what they could with the MCU version of Clint Barton. And getting Kate in there is really cool. But yeah, all the Daredevil and Kingpin stuff, man, that's so exciting. And how about that timing with the Marvel movies? Like, how do they do that with the timing? That's incredible.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I mean, I think a lot of people had the same feelings at the end of episode 5 when they teased Kingpin with the little, tiny little picture of him. And then I think in that first moment that you see the picture, it's pretty grainy and small and hard to see, and I think everybody's kind of like wondering, like, okay, is this for real? Is this actually, is it going to be Vincent D'Onofrio or is it going to be some new Kingpin? You know what I'm saying? And they
I thought the
did
same
not
thing.
disappoint. I mean, it was him, and we got to see that in episode 6.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we saw the end credits after the blurry cell phone picture. Like 2 seconds later, it said Vincent D'Onofrio. I was like, yes, it is him. Because that
yeah,
was my first thought. I was like, is it they get a knockoff, a different guy? Like, is it really him? I'm like, it's clearly Kingpin, but is it the same actor? That's all everyone cares about. So very excited it's him. I just love that guy so much, and he did like a Christmas message on Twitter, and his voice is very different from the Kingpin voice. So it's pretty strange. It's funny hearing the juxtaposition between his real self and the Kingpin.
right.
He more has like a higher basic pitch. My dog is choking or something.
Is he
You
okay?
okay? She's just staring at me. Sorry about that.
Party
Um,
Pug 666, right? I mean,
uh, but yeah, the voice. So yeah, he's just like, oh, thank you guys so much and stuff, as opposed to Kingpin. He's like, when I was a boy, and he's like heavy breathing, and he just demands, his presence when he speaks. And I love it. I love it. I can't get enough of Kingpin.
how did it compare for you? Obviously, we just got through saying how this is the same actor. This is, I guess, we're implying that this is the same character, and I know that it's been,
Yeah.
confirmed that way from D'Onofrio doing interviews and saying like, yes, this is the same character, this is the same portrayal. But I do think the interpretation, there are some differences there. Would you agree? What was your feelings on that?
Yeah, I think my head canon is that it's like a different multiverse version than the Netflix shows. It's a same human embodiment of Kingpin, but all the stuff that happened in the next Netflix show of Daredevil didn't happen for the MCU. It's just kind of a fresh, brand new start. It's like Jonah Jameson.
Yeah,
He's just a different version in the MCU.
gotcha.
So, but I mean, we'll see if what happens in the future. But I'm just excited that we get Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio to play their roles, and we'll see if any of the other characters show back up. Because I'd love to see Karen Page and Foggy Nelson.
Yeah.
And who else did they got there? But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest questions that probably everyone is pondering right now, like they ponder their orbs,
Yeah.
the MCU orbs that we ponder. Seeing both Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox return in these characters' roles is crazy because it makes you wonder how much are they going to use, all the extended universe of the characters, the stories. And I guess just this week there was rumors coming out that like Charlie Cox is going to be heavily involved in a lot of these new Disney Plus shows that are coming out. And I think Niobe in the chat is saying something
Yeah.
similar here.
Yeah, he says that it's 100% all canon, all the Netflix stuff, and we'll see about that. I just think there's a lot of baggage when it comes to the Netflix shows, and it's easier for them to say, it's just a different multiverse over there, and it's the same embodiment of the character, but those stories didn't quite happen, or maybe they happen or will happen differently in the MCU.
I think they're just going to cherry pick because I think a
Yes,
whole lot of
yes.
what happened in those shows are going to be irrelevant. I think they're going to tell new stories that
Yeah.
don't need to reference or, just conveniently never have to touch on the events from those shows. But I think where it works, they will pull from it and bring people. I mean, there's so many people, like you say, Karen Page and Foggy, that should be. But then beyond that, it makes you think like, well, what will we get? Eventually, will we see Luke Cage? Will we see Jessica Jones? Will we see?
Right.
There's so many other characters from that little universe that you kind of feel like they were discarded and left for dead. But it's hard to say at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I loved Luke Cage, man. I really liked both seasons, and I'm in the minority of that. But I just really wish I'd see the return of Luke Cage. I think he played the role great. Would
Yeah.
love to see him, and even Jessica Jones. I really enjoyed most of those seasons. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that the big downer I think everyone agrees on for the Netflix shows was Iron Fist, and and then they did the Defenders show, and they made the mistake of making Iron Fist the main protagonist of that, and just brought down everything else around it. So it's like everyone. I was looking forward to the Defender show so much, like so badly. I was so hyped for that, and it's like the Avengers of the Netflix shows all coming
Yeah.
together. It's all going to pay off, and it was like, oh, it's an Iron Fist story. Oh man,
Yeah.
and that was a huge bummer. So, um, yeah, I mean, in the comics, I guess for Iron Fist, they're going to change him to like an Asian character, which is really cool. And they're letting Danny Rand go. He's given up the role of Iron Fist, and that'd be really cool to do the same thing for MCU. I
Right.
think people would really latch onto that, and it would be a successful move for them.
Just have a new rendition of
Yes.
Iron Fist. Sorry, when he shows up
Yeah.
in the MCU at some point, which it seems like if it feels like the street level characters are actually getting a certain amount of engagement or a certain amount of use in the MCU beyond what they've gotten so far. Even coming back to Spider-Man, it feels like they're taking Tom Holland's Spider-Man character back more to street level now, right? Because at the end of Far From Home, he's forgotten. He has no family. Apparently, he doesn't. I guess he never graduates from high school. He's got to get his GED.
Yes, and he sewed his own costume. He
Yeah.
no longer has the Stark tech. It is beautiful. It is perfect. That's exactly the Spider-Man I think most like diehard Spider-Man fans wanted to see.
Yeah.
Is the struggling Peter Parker. He has a crappy apartment. Nothing goes right. You have the Parker luck. Everything's going bad all the time for him.
Right.
He's always so full of so much like turmoil and pathos, and it's that's what you want to see. And he always just digs deep and finds within how to conquer and rise above. It's beautiful. It's awesome, man. And we're finally gonna get that. It's so cool to see him like make his own like crappy looking costume. Like the material is like cheap. It's like the blues are like shiny and
Right.
reflective. It's like really crappy material. I love it though. Like I'm so excited. That really made me super stoked at the end to see that return to form. So now it's almost like how comic book writers, when they write their story arc for a story, they like, let's get all the toys and have them like play together, like, oh wow, bang bang, you bang your toys, and then you're like, okay, you wrap up your story, and then you put them back in the box. You put everything back where it came from, and let someone else take over for where you left off. It's like full circle. And so I feel like that. It's like I love to have the same director do another trilogy, but he's working on Fantastic Four, which is exciting.
Oh, really?
It's in good hands.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for that. And as far as Spider-Man, yes, I'd love to see that director return. But if someone else wants to take their shot, it's totally cool because he put all the toys back in the box and let it go for someone else to take reins.
Yeah,
So,
I think that
great
would be
move.
smart to let another director, tap in. And I really think they should do something different for another trilogy. We had this whole story of Spider-Man based in his youth, based in a high school, story. And, they did a lot of fun stuff with that. It felt like a lot of other movies, the way they would reference stuff and, try to keep it in that, sandbox as far as it's high school kids the whole time. But I would
Yeah,
be
when he
excited
says-
to see the more grown up, Peter Parker, obviously struggling, not like as if there's versions of Peter Parker in the comics that are like well established and well to do like later in life, and maybe they get to that. But like, I think this is great to see Peter Parker like 18, 19, 20 and just trying to like pay rent. And I guess I'm imagining maybe they finally have the chance to let him be a photographer for the Daily Bugle, or all those kind of things can happen.
Gosh, you just unpacked so much stuff for me to jump off of in different branches. I don't know where I would start. I really, I guess before you said street level stuff, and we're finally seeing Peter Parker kind of return to street level form. He's just going to take care of New York City, wherever he can. And he's no longer in space fighting aliens. He's like, but as I guess we might see him fight an alien or get attached to one. In the next one, because the Venom symbiote is now in the MCU.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be the next movie. Is the symbiote's going to find him? I think he'll have the black suit.
You really think so?
I think so. And I don't know
wow.
if he'll keep it for the whole movie. I think at the end he might get rid of it, and maybe we'll see a new Eddie Brock or whatever. It'll probably be the same actor, but we'll see. I don't know. but I think we'll see him in the that outfit for sure. The next movie.
Well,
And
there was
I
a
hope
lot
it's
to
solid.
unpack there, but I did want to I listened to last week's episode and I did want to just talk about the whole Venom thing where it's like at
Yes.
the end of his movie he's teleported like so many of the spider characters are. And then he doesn't get to do anything and he's teleported back, like that was so weird and funny of a choice,
Yeah, I loved it because I didn't want to see Venom in the MCU, and I knew that. I feel like they had agreements like contractual obligations prior, where it's like, yes, Venom can be in the MCU, but it does not say for how long. And they just put him in the one scene to make sure he is in the MCU. Gone, not here. So I think they met the contract obligations, wiped their hands clean, and said, okay, we're done. Where to go on from here. But now we have the symbiote, so who knows? We could see the return of Eddie Brock. That other actor, Tom, forget his name.
Are you saying the current actor
Tom Hardy, yeah, Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe it's good that they keep those two separate, even if they had a short, crossover. What they're doing with the Venom in the Sony universe is so off the wall and strange and for better or for worse. I mean, take what you will from that. I think that much like the Phoenix Saga, the Venom storyline for Spider-Man has not been done justice in the movies on the big screen because Spider-Man 3 is the original trilogy is often very hated for what they chose to do with the symbiote and the black suit and the Topher Grace or whatever his name is that plays. Is it Eddie Brock in that movie or is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people really hated how that went, and Sam Raimi is the OG. Like you can't really hate too much because that trilogy went hard. Feel free to screenshot, but but I would the story of the black suit and the symbiote and all that is such a great story in the comics, and it's so integral to Spider-Man's history, right? In a lot of ways. So I would love to see it be done well. I feel like the MCU really treats all those stories, with respect, and I think it would be fun to see that version of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how Sam Raimi is going to do the new Doctor Strange movie. That's pretty cool that they kind of kept him in there. That's pretty interesting. But yes, I feel like Venom deserves a better story than what we've seen in the past. Something not so wacky and silly like the current Venom movies.
Yeah, I think on the first one, the wackiness you could almost say was not necessarily on purpose, but then
Right.
they just kind of decided that they better, right? They better just go for it if they're going to do this. So, yeah, I mean, I really hope you're right. That theory of the next Spider-Man movie, that sounds really exciting. I would enjoy seeing that little blob find its way to Peter, and he wakes up one morning and
I can see them bringing in Tom Hardy, but maybe actually directing him on how to act and not make it so.
What kind
wacky,
of accent he has?
Yeah, cut. He no longer has an accent. Yeah, cut that out. Whatever that is. Yeah, what even is that accent?
I think it's just an Australian guy trying to do a Boston accent, and it's just there's just too many variables there that they're not getting worked out. Yeah, and that brings me to some beef that I wanted to bring up. Why are there so many British dudes playing Americans in the MCU? I mean, it runs rampant through all these characters. I mean, Tom Holland, Charlie Cox, Benedict Cumberbatch. There's probably others, but just from watching the new Spider-Man, I'm like, why can't they get why are Americans not eligible for these roles? I don't understand.
I hope that whenever they make a Captain Britain movie, that I hope they get an American and
Thank
he does
you.
the wrong kind of English accent. He's like, hey, oh, what you going on? Oh yeah, oh my, it's just totally wacky. He's just ruin it for them. How we think it's doing for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part they pull it off, but I always just think it's funny to see interviews where they are very clearly speaking with the British or English accent, however you want to put it, and then I'm just like, How do you train yourself to speak? Like, what is that process like to retrain yourself to talk like
Yeah,
Americans?
totally. Yeah, it was funny. I forget what we were watching recently, my wife and I, but there was some actor that we knew they talked differently in real life or in other movies, and they're played the opposite with the English accent. Like, oh yeah, it was a French dude that we saw. That was remember the bad guy in Ocean's 12, the
No.
French dude
I
that was
don't.
like dicing under lasers and stuff. Yeah, well he played like he played an American villain in the last Bourne movie. We recently binged all the Jason Bourne movies for the first time ever, and the last one's called just Jason Bourne, and he was the bad guy, and that was like a hitman in that, trying to track down Jason Bourne. But yeah, he cut out his French accent. I'm like, he did a pretty good job for talking like an American. But there was like one or two words he couldn't say where his accent came out anyways. I was like pretty fun. We're like, oh, did you catch that?
I feel like it happens more often than not, and then it's just like I think when I first heard about them casting Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, I was kind of like, okay, but at this point, like more often than not, I can hear his fake American accent coming out in the wrong ways than other people. Like Tom Holland, I would say, gets away with it almost all the time, but Benedict Cumberbatch does not. And then also, I have a beef to pick with the MCU, like hair and makeup. Like, what the hell's going on with Stephen Strange? He does not look authentic. Like his hair, his goatee, it looks like shit.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on. Like what?
Yeah, the white streaks or whatever they're trying to do, where it's like they could make it look more natural, but it's just like clearly painted on his face.
Yeah,
Like,
his hair does not look real or natural. It looks very like it looks like a wig, and then like even I remember from that post credit scene, which I guess they've released now as like a teaser for the Multiverse of Madness, where he approaches Wanda, and you can see him from the profile, and his ridiculous goatee, it just goes back to like such a point that I'm like, what?
yeah.
I don't understand. Like this is Marvel.
Well,
like this is
we did see in
Disney.
we did see in the new Spider-Man movie how Zendaya's character Mary Jane or whatever found like the stencil of a goatee. So maybe he just stencils it on.
Right.
He has like a spray paint thing. He just I can see him doing that. And it's funny because like, and also I want to say the costume stuff too, the comic accurate version. I want to say that the prior time we saw him, Doctor Strange, he had the comic accurate like golden or like yellow colored gloves, which was pretty awesome.
Right.
We haven't seen them since. And I was like, oh, that was nice seeing them for like one movie for like a couple minutes, but I'd like to see the return of those, but I don't think we're gonna get them.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I feel like they do a good job of balancing kind of the over the top comic costumes.
And
They're able to
practical.
bring them to life
Yeah.
in certain different ways without it looking hokey, but also not going the DC route where everything's got to be like dark and leathery and like
Yeah, for sure.
which I mean you got to have some balance. You got to like try to make it look semi believable, but I think it's just always in retrospect, the hype of it all makes it believable, and then you look back and you're like, maybe not. That was just costumes are not that amazing. But I mean, speaking of classic costumes, it's been rumored that Charlie Cox is going to be in She-Hulk rocking the yellow costume. Did you read that?
Whoa, I did not. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see him in the yellow costume. That'd be so cool. That's a perfect start for him in the MCU. Start him off as the yellow costume and then graduate him later on to the red one. That's sick. That's a great idea.
I don't know what the logic would be, and I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around what that would look like in a live action version. But yeah, I mean that's the rumor. This article. Shout out Lucas, who's not with us tonight. Lucas sent this article about Charlie Cox. This is just a rumor, but now that we've seen him in No Way Home, there's all this stuff about, well, is he gonna be showing up again? Where will we see him again? And so these rumors are that he's in She-Hulk show. I think we can all guess that the Echo show is going to have a lot of like probably Daredevil, Kingpin, I would assume. Who knows who else? But I mean that just seems like what that's all leading to. And then another show, I think it said maybe Moon Knight, he might make an appearance. So
Moon Knight's a very street level character, which I'm so excited for that show because it is street level. He's like pretty much like Daredevil or Batman,
Yeah.
So that gets me really excited. I'm super stoked for that show, and I feel like Oscar Isaac will probably do a good job. And the choreography sneak peek they showed before looked pretty good. but I really hope they up it, and make it really exciting how Daredevil was. And I could see them, hanging out and and meeting each other, but I feel like it's too early to do that. I don't know. I think if Daredevil met Moon Knight, their comic personalities, I think Moon Knight is a little too crazy for Daredevil, and Daredevil would just kind of like keep him at arm's length. He's kind of like a wild card and unexpected what he's going to do. So as Daredevil's more tactical and he knows what he's doing usually most of the time. But bring back the yellow costume. For some reason I had a flashback thought of the Reverse Flash from the Flash TV show, and how great of a costume that was. And it was like, because it's yellow and it's like leather, but it looked like dirty and kind of like used and scratched up. I could see like Daredevil's costume looking like a dirty, grimy yellow, and like with scratch marks and scuffs on it and stuff, like a worn in, not like bright and flashy yellow, but it would look sick. I think
it's definitely really got to have some wear and tear to it.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep this conversation going because we've been at about 30 minutes into this. I think it's time for us to do This Week in Memes. We haven't done that in quite a while, so let's hear it. Oh, it's way back there. Let's see if I can bring it back up to the top. Sorry, I've got this graphic I wanted to use, but
love it.
I got to get it up. Here we go. There it is. So let's jump over here to, all right, cool. So we're just going to flash up some memes that we've all come by. I'm assuming, Jason, did you make some of the memes you sent me, or did you find all of them?
I made the last one a couple years ago, the one with Ben doing Joker face and Downton Abbey. Yeah.
I'm going to turn the speed down a little bit on these memes. We'll just let them play so people have a chance to take a look at what's been coming our way. This one was great. This is from our homie David Connor, which just brings me back to Hawkeye, which I thought it was very funny that, Yelena, there's a lot of plot holes in Yelena's story, which you guys touched on in last week's episode. I was listening back to that, and it made a lot of sense. It's just like, why hadn't she done a whole lot of research? Like, it seems like there was so much research that if you believe this character, that she would have done it before, like, going after Clint, right?
For sure, yeah. I was also very puzzled of, like, why is, did she wait so long to go after Clint Barton when, she was shown evidence by Elaine from Seinfeld earlier, and apparently she didn't hire her. She was the middleman to get hired by Kate Bishop's mother. It's just really kind of loop around thing for no reason. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, I think sometimes the need to make everything connect, is probably a little too much for the best storytelling experience. There was definitely an effort made to get Yelena's character into the show, and so I feel like some storytelling sacrifices had to be made, in order to make it work at all. But I thought it was so funny that when they're fighting, and just a little sidebar about that scene is happening right in front of, the big Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, which you also see in Far From Home, or I'm sorry, No Way Home. But yeah, I guess these things were shot and take place, very different times. Like, it's not, I guess it's a year or more apart, but still, like, you could see the tree in both of these. But I did find it funny that, like, he does the little whistle that Nat does, and then Yelena's like, oh, what? And that meme is so good because it's the same thing at the end of, Spider-Man versus Batman, or I'm sorry, Superman versus Batman, where he's like, Martha. And it's just like, come on, bro. Like, this is not.
Why did you say that name? Why'd you do that whistle?
Right, exactly.
Totally. Yeah, it's funny because I like to think that Spider-Man Far From Home, or No Way Home, took place like a little bit before Hawkeye, I think, because when Spider-Man's swinging, you see the Rogers sign for their Broadway or whatever, the play.
Yeah.
We see that in the opening, pretty much first couple minutes of the movie. So, but then again, those shows do have like year-long, kind of showings. So yeah, it could take place a while down the road as well. But I'd like to think it takes place a little bit before Hawkeye.
Okay.
And in my head, for now.
Sorry, I made the meme slider go crazy there, y'all. This is my
It's going so fast
yeah.
now. Yeah.
I realized I had the I was trying to make the transitions go faster, but instead I made the whole slideshow go faster. But now it should be a little more consumable. Sorry about that. Well, yeah, I mean, it is exciting to see that. I mean, it seems now like, Yelena and Hawkeye will get along, which I don't know how I feel about that. I was kind of hoping that you would see them be at odds so that it puts Yelena kind of more in that bad guy anti-hero segment of a lot of these
For
new
the
characters.
Thunderbolts kind of thing
Yeah,
happening.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have loved to seen her be more on the bad side, and then later on after the Young Avengers movie where they battle the Thunderbolts, then maybe we'll see them do a turn from bad guy to a good guy or help them defeat the Thunderbolts. I was hoping that was going to happen later on. But I guess she realizes Clint's an okay guy, and I really like the relationship between her and the new Hawkeye, Kate.
Right.
Bishop. They
Yes.
had a great chemistry together. They liked each other off the bat already. They're cracking jokes and stuff and getting along just well. And Kate hated how much she liked Yelena. That's a lot of fun. But I that was what I was looking forward to too. Seeing them interact and be friends, because I think there's great potential there for the future MCU with their chemistry together. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, we definitely see this series wrap by really bringing Kate, the new Hawkeye, into the family. She comes home with Clint to his family's Christmas, which you guys, pretty much called it exactly on last week's show, that he would get there just in time for Christmas and she would be along because she doesn't have a family anymore. I think it's kind of funny. I mean, obviously Clint and his wife have a good relationship, because to just be gone for that was This Week in Memes, everybody. I turn that off now. But I did think it was funny that imagine if you were telling your wife, oh, I can't make it home for 5 days or something, where you're stuck in New York, and then you show up with some young woman. Like, it's a weird vibe, like,
and we all had our suspicions about Hawkeye's wife, and I don't even know her name, but it's like, she was speaking Russian at one point, and she had all these contacts and shields and stuff. I'm like,
right.
is she a shield agent? Is she that one character, or Mockingbird, or whatever we're saying? I think it was Mockingbird. We said it was before.
Yeah.
And it turns out it kind of is. I think.
Yeah.
It was the watch showed the back. It was the Shield logo, but it said the number like 9 or something like that.
I think it was
I forget what
19 or something.
19, but I guess apparently Mockingbird's number for Shield.
Right.
So she
Agent 19
kind of is Mockingbird. So that's pretty cool.
I agree. I think that they were teasing this for a long time. Everybody was wondering what is the relevance of the watch. And of course, you didn't find out until the very end, but people started speculating that it was about Mockingbird, because they had planted these seeds that, his wife is, there's other stuff going on here, as you say, and
that was so refreshing, man, in my opinion, is to have like the wife character be so supportive of the husband doing the heroic thing, instead of always dragging the person down and making it another thing. The hero has to come over. It's like, why do you have to make like the wife like the difficult part of the problem in every movie or TV show? Like, they're dragging the main character down. Like, why? Like, they wouldn't be married to them if they weren't supportive already to begin with. So
right. It's like
so finally you get a realistic characterization of what a real relationship would be like between those kind of characters. So that was so fantastic. I love that, seeing her be like there, his number one, right by his side, and she, lived that life. She knows about it. She's like a secret agent. So that was super cool.
Yeah, I would give props to the Flash shows on CW, because they skirt all that kind of storytelling almost right away, which I think is refreshing. I think it's a difficult trope to watch for an extended period of time, where you're just constantly in a web of lies and you're just constantly trying to figure out ways to explain away what you're actually doing. Whereas you don't have that dynamic in this relationship, that, Hawkeye and Mockingbird are, they come from the same level on all this stuff. He doesn't have to hide anything There's no random lies made up. And I would say that the CW Arrow show is terrible at that. Like, especially in the first season. I mean, Oliver was always just like so full of shit. Like, he always had the worst excuses. Like, there would be something going on with his family, a big deal, and he'd be like, I have to take care of something, and just like leave. And it's just like, what? Could you imagine walking into your room after the show and just telling your wife, like, I got to take care of something? She'd be like, well, what do you mean? What do you take care of? What is
something? And he just leaves. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly. Yeah, it's just tiresome to watch that for forever.
Sure.
It's like
I really enjoyed that Arrow show for the most part. I didn't watch the last like season or two, but I did watch most of those CW shows for the good couple seasons for all of them. And I still think about that of like going back and watching all the seasons I missed. I like superhero content in general. And there's so much like older stuff that's on all the apps that I still want to watch. Like I think the older Shazam like TV show was on like the HBO app for a while, and I think they might have got rid of that recently. But there's a bunch of older stuff that's out there that I still would love to watch. Like I'm curious, I might even like make myself watch the old Wonder Woman TV show or like the Hulk show. There's older so much content that's out there. I think in the 90s or 2000s they had like a bunch of really crappy like X-Men and other mutant type shows. I think I forget
really?
what one. I think it was called like X Mutants or something like that. I think it was called.
Wow. Okay.
But
I did not know that.
Yeah. I hear like good things from some person that said that, but I don't believe it because it looks like crap. But apparently they loved it so much. I'm like, maybe I'll check that out. I just like that stuff in general. But it's fun for me to see different time periods, interpretations of these superheroes, of what they can make and create with their own small budget or whatever to make things possible, or vision they have in mind. So it's fun to see how they try to accomplish things, different creators or directors with certain characters and properties. It's a fun little experiment, I think, in my eyes, to see, how it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've touched on this before, and it's a testament to why Marvel Studios is a thing at all, because they had to take Iron Man and Avengers and make them into, a big tentpole franchise. And I feel like the CW is also kind of stuck in that same, scenario where Arrow was there because they didn't want to give them Batman or any of the big name characters, and they really made the most out of it. And then, got the Flash and got all these other shows spun off of it. So I think that's crazy. What people can pull off when, as they say, in the mothers of invention, if you will, what I'm saying? Necessity is going to give you the ability to make the most out of that. In the chat, somebody, MJ says, so what y'all top 3 2021 comic book movies or shows? Jason, would you like to take that? I don't know if I can.
Yeah, good question, man. I'm trying to think of all the stuff that came out, man. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And how to rank it. I mean, did WandaVision come out in 2020, right? I think so.
That's a great question. Let me look. I think, let me see if I can get a timeline of the Disney Plus shows. Yeah, I don't feel like it was a year ago, but
right. Yeah, but it could have been. I really enjoyed Loki. I did. I think most people were let down. I really enjoyed that. Just seeing Kang really made the show for me. Gosh, yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed that last Spider-Man movie. I liked it more than I thought I would, because I had really low expectations, because there were so many different like lines and characters that they had to bring in, and I thought it was gonna be a mess and convoluted and difficult, and it was so easy to understand for the general audience, and had a lot of fan service, but it wasn't just fan service for fan service sake. Like the fan service, pushed the plot forward.
Yeah.
As opposed to most fan service and other things, it's like the plot is there, but then the fan service is there on the side as well. It's not. It's like an afterthought, or So this one really made a good consolidation of both, and I really, was surprised at how good the new Spider-Man movie was.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot to juggle, and that they did it with respect to just trying to tell a good story and slotting all these things in where they fit without, making it some kind of weird bloated, experience just because you wanted to touch all those different, threads of Spider-Man lore. You got a party plug down there?
Yeah, the chubby one wants it.
I don't know if I can really unpack. I did think about asking about this ahead of the show, trying to do it. Like, this is our last show of the year. I think next time we do a show, it'll be 2022. So it would be nice to do a reflection, but the holidays are in full swing, and we are just barely making it onto the stream, that we didn't get as much time to prepare as we'd like. But that being said,
how about yourself, man? What would you pick? Yeah,
I definitely think Spider-Man was way, way, way up there for me. Was super excited to get to have this experience. It's been alluded for, years probably, that it was going to be this Into the Spider-Verse experience for the MCU. Excuse me. And it was, it was great to see that delivered. Another one for me that has been big that, I've always put this in the show notes, but we haven't talked about it, which was the Wheel of Time show. The Wheel of Time is a fantasy book series. The first one came out in like 86 or something. So, this is like a 30-plus-year-old fantasy series. And Amazon is trying to get their Game of Thrones type money franchise. So, knowing that this series was going to come out this year was a huge deal for me. It just wrapped its first season. It was 8 episodes. I fully enjoyed the experience. I will say that for anyone watching at home that's like, I've never heard of that book series, I would say, don't worry. You are the intended audience. They are making this show for people that have not read the books, because this shit is totally different than the books. Like, I mean, huge deviations in the plot. And, I think that's exciting, because I've been watching it with my wife, who has not read the books. So, both of us are on our toes when we watch this. So, I'm still marinating on if I like the show or not, knowing that a season 2 has already been greenlit. I'm definitely going to withhold judgment and just see where it can go, because I feel like the first season of most things are kind of rocky. Wheel of Time show on Amazon definitely gets that designation as like possibly a rocky start. But if they get their legs under them and get, a good cadence for the show going, I think it could be really cool and really good. There's so much lore.
I heard mostly positive things about that show. It's definitely piqued my curiosity. I was a big fan of the Foundation show on Apple TV, and that was really good. I think that's a sci-fi property that even took place before Dune was created. It's like one of the older sci-fi properties that's out there, and Foundation I thought was pretty darn good for what it was, and I think it got a weekend of its premiere. They made I guess a contract for season 2, so looking forward to that, and I hope it met everyone else's expectations. I had never read the books, but I really enjoyed the show. It had a lot of interesting ideas that I never seen or thought of before. It kind of they made almost like almost like a galaxy that's like run by other, like by one kingdom, like a giant property or land, a space you got to rule over, territory, a lot of places of rule, but the king is like it's like almost like a trinity, but he's like a clone of like the original king. So there's 3 of them, and it's like a guy that's like a young kid, a middle-aged guy, and an old guy.
Oh, interesting. This sounds like Dark from Netflix. I don't know if you ever watched that one, but
I think I tried watching the first episode and I didn't go back to it. But yes, that sounds
just
familiar.
The first episode. That's it.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Yeah.
I would definitely check that out, man. I mean, and I do this for everything that's not English language. I watch with subtitles, so I just want to drop that tip.
Same.
If you go watch it, don't do the audio dub. Do the subtitles. But you should definitely check out Dark, man. I mean, it's just 3 seasons, but very convoluted and dense history and lore. And I mean, I guess I won't elaborate now that I'm telling you to go watch it. But there's definitely something similar to what you just referenced in that show.
Interesting. Yeah, I just really like the idea of like there being like a clone kind of supremacy of like this king in different age groups, and they kind of bring in and raise their younger version of themselves into like what they've gone through and what war and things are happening at the time and life experiences. And then it goes into a whole entire thing of like maybe there's imperfections with the clones, maybe there's like it just gets really heady, and
wow.
It's pretty interesting. There's a lot of timelines and jumping around, so you have different narratives that you kind of got to piece together in your mind. So it can be a little convoluted, it can be a little difficult, but I think they give a lot of reprieve with the audience, of giving them the benefit of the doubt that the audience is smart along to follow. So it's just pretty cool, man. I enjoyed it. I thought it's better than I thought it would be.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. I think the one last thing that we have this year coming up, we haven't touched on this much on the show, but the Star Wars universe on Disney Plus is about to get the addition of the Book of Boba Fett. Do you think you'll watch this
next week? Right?
I feel like it is. I feel like
I think it is
imminent.
I think very soon. We're not going to see another Disney thing for a long time. I mean, Marvel thing for a very long time. Technically, Morbius in January. But that's also Sony, really.
Right,
so,
exactly.
And who knows where the hell that's going to land in the timeline.
It's got Michael Keaton's Vulture in it. We know that much.
As a poster of Spider-Man, I think Tom Holland, that says murderer on it. So it's like, what is this? Where does this take place in? What timeline is this? What world is it in? And I don't think they're going to answer anything. I think they're just going to be like, yeah, it's whatever. And maybe
it's mostly like a standalone with some little sprinkles of continuity in it.
Yeah, he knows who Venom is. He knows who Eddie Brock is. The Morbius character. They talk about the situation in San Francisco, which was where Venom 1 took place.
Right.
But you're to go back to, I'm sorry to divert so much, but I'm looking forward to Star Wars, Book of Boba Fett coming out, and the trailer looked pretty good. I just really loved the ending of Mandalorian, where it's like a post-credit scene where it shows them taking the throne of Jabba the Hutt. It's like, yeah, it's pretty sweet. So we'll see what they do with it. And it seems like he's more like an anti-hero, being more of a hero than a villain, but we'll see what his motivations lie in the show. I feel like Boba Fett's always been like, more of a hitman and villain type character, and they kind of redeemed him more recently. And so now he's just more of the middle ground character, I think, like anti-hero.
Yeah, it's weird to see Boba Fett show up in The Mandalorian after whatever, how many years? 40 years or something since Star Wars let him fall in the Sarlacc pit, and that's all you know. Is it the same actor who plays Boba Fett in the prequels, right?
Correct, yeah.
Who is the clone Source.
Jango Fett, yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's super interesting that they would do that. I do appreciate that there's creatives at these big corporations like Disney that want to like tie those threads together. I think that's cool.
I believe the original Boba Fett died this past year.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he died from COVID though, so that's kind of good. But I could be wrong at that too. But I'm pretty sure he died. The original Boba Fett died earlier this year, I think.
Well, R.I.P. original Boba Fett. We will check out your show in your image. I don't know, man. I'm going to watch it because it took me a long time to get to The Mandalorian, and I really enjoyed it. It's very much like a show that feels like a fetch quest type,
sure,
RPG style, like, hey, welcome to this new area. I'm going to need you to go do this thing, and then I'll help you along your mission. Because that's pretty much what happens in every episode. He's got to save the child, and somebody's going to, will you do my laundry for me, Mandalorian? And then I'll tell you where the child's
it seems like
people
his
are.
Sidekick, whatever this left-hand woman he has is kind of like, I thought of like Navi from Ocarina of Time. Zelda's like, hey, listen, you got to go over here.
Right.
That's that character, I think.
Yeah, so, I mean, knowing that The Mandalorian grew on me so much, I'm definitely going to try out the Book of Boba Fett. I'm not sure. At this point, I'm not sold, but I've said that before on a lot of these shows.
I'm glad I've watched most of the live-action stuff when it comes to Star Wars. I haven't watched, like, the animated stuff, so I haven't seen Clone Wars. I started The Bad Batch. I got a couple episodes into that. I never finished it, though, and I just got overwhelmed with too much stuff at the time. There's too much stuff coming out.
Yeah.
And so, I just put that on the back burner. I was like, I'll watch all the animated stuff some other time in the future. There's just a lot to watch, I'm just struggling trying to keep track with just the live-action Marvel stuff, much less, animated stuff.
Oh
But
yeah, absolutely. I understand. I mean, I'm still trying to finish The Sopranos for God's sake. I mean,
yeah, I've yet to see Sopranos. Yeah,
oh wow, okay,
yeah,
interesting. Well,
or Breaking Bad or The Wire or
oh
like
my goodness, wow.
yeah, no, I have a lot of show watching ahead of me. One day.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Well, that was quite a tangent we went on. Thank you, MJ, if you're still in the chat. I don't even
Yeah.
think that we hit 3 each. I didn't.
Oh no.
I think I had 2.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I really enjoyed the Suicide Squad movie too. That was a lot of fun. That was this year. Um, yeah, I mean, I think I'm mostly hyped for the new Batman. That's was all I'm looking forward to.
With Robert Pattinson's stanky
Yeah,
Batman version.
Stinky Batman. Yeah,
Bad breath, BO, having ass Batman. Just like, he's got that loud, deep voice, but like you can't tell from the movie how bad his breath is. Like, that's what nobody tells you. It's like, the reason Batman's intimidating is not because he's loud and like grisly. It's because he's like terrible breath when he's like, "Tell me. You're like, bro, get a fucking mint, dog. Do you have any bat mints?
Definitely needs a Batman. Yeah, no doubt. Each time I see that trailer, man, like I'm like, oh god, this trailer again. And then by the time of the end of the trailer, I'm like almost at the point of tears. So I'm like, this is so perfect. Like I love like the theme song. It's like almost like the animated version song, but like slowed down, but with like the trumpets, really hitting on those keys. Then of course the last shot of the trailer is the upside down shot of walking in the rain, the Batman going towards the car, the penguin's flipped over in. It's just beautiful. I love that last shot so much. That trailer just continues to give me goosebumps and hyped every time.
Nice.
Like, but like I said before, each time it starts, I'm like, oh god, this trailer again. By the time it ends, I'm like, oh man, that was amazing. Like.
So what is your what's your over under on this? Spinning off a full new Batman trilogy. What do you think?
Well, they say that he just wants to do a one and done movie.
Who the direct?
Pattinson.
Oh, okay.
Said
Robert
he just wants to be Batman for one movie. He doesn't want to do a trilogy or anything. And I just think that it's going to be a huge hit. I don't think he's going to have a choice. I think they're going to give him a dump trunk full of money and just be like, here you go. Here's a trilogy. He's not going to be able to say no. So, and apparently they're going to do a Penguin TV show with Colin Farrell.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
On top of their other show, which is the GCPD with the same director, Matt Reeves.
Wait, that's a show? Wow, okay.
Yeah. So we're going to see.
Is this all HBO Max stuff?
I think so. Yes. And I believe that the GCPD show is going to take place primarily from a new recruit officer or something like that in the show. And he realizes the department's kind of like, iffy. There's a lot of like scumbag policemen. You can't trust who your comrades are or whatever. You can't trust the people you work with. I think he's going to have maybe a partner that might die in the show and realize that lesson early. And then I think you're only going to see Batman. I think like how you should see him if you're a citizen of Gotham. Like you might see him like jump from a rooftop to rooftop. Be like, what was that? Or like,
oh, interesting.
It's like you won't really see Batman in the show. I don't think.
Well, so I gotta say,
he's like a myth, I'm
very skeptical of this concept. I feel like WB loves to do this with their big name characters, where they do a show not about We don't want a Batman show. That's no. Yeah. Why would we do that?
We finally got a Superman show. They finally got a Superman show. It took forever.
Right? Is that the CW? I mean, I don't know. I mean, hasn't Superman had shows like Lois and Clark and Smallville? I mean,
yeah, that was forever ago, though. It's like
true. Okay.
And people were like, make a new Superman show. Well, here's Supergirl for like 6 or 7 seasons, and
it's not that many, is it?
Like, probably not. Probably not, I would say. But people were like, when are we gonna get Superman? When are we get Superman? And we was like, we'll just do a Superman show, do a Batman show, and instead you get like Gotham, which is like all the other characters, and like Bruce Wayne's a kid, and yeah.
You were apparently right. It's 6 seasons, and the 7th one was canceled.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is a shame. I mean, I want to give credit to Melissa Benoist. I thought she did a great job as Kara on that show. I didn't watch much of it, because that was another weird rights division situation where I guess I'm trying to think about this. CBS had the Supergirl show separate from CW, and somewhere along the lines they merged them and did a bunch of weird multiverse shit where they do exist, but in a multiverse, and occasionally they cross over. And I think at the end, somehow they all got merged down. There was a new universe from all the different universes.
I missed that crossover. I saw the first crossover they did, and that was pretty cool. But the second one, I didn't watch the following seasons for those shows, so I didn't want to watch the crossover not knowing what happened in the seasons, because I figured, it'd be pretty important to the crossover. So
yeah, you need to at least watch like a episode or two from each one. Right. So yeah, I do think
her as Supergirl. You're right; she was a good Supergirl.
Yeah, she did great, and really, I would just give credit to the whole slew of shows that they did. They really did a big crossover situation on a yearly basis. Like it started with one crossover, everybody thought, oh, this is crazy, and they kept building up. I feel like they did at least 3, maybe more, but like I know just from reading it, I got fatigue. I couldn't keep up with all of them, but I know at the end they kind of like did a Crisis of Infinite Earths type situation, and eventually smushed them all together or something. But I guess they're probably done now. I mean,
right? Yeah, it's funny because I kind of really wish I would have time to revisit all those. I really enjoy Legends of Tomorrow. As goofy as it was, but once season 3 or 4 rolled around, they really dove into the wackiness of it and being more of a joke, of a show, and not taking themselves so seriously. And that was a huge improvement, where I think a lot of fans that watch the CW shows always said Legends of Tomorrow was their favorite, because the characters, chemistry, all the actors, had a lot of fun with each other. And I get that. Good.
Yeah, I definitely get that vibe from it. I couldn't keep up with that one after like season 2. I don't know. And I've tried to go back, and like I did go back with Arrow, and like did a very long binge of Arrow, and mostly enjoyed it. It gets kind of weird. When the Arrowverse stuff starts becoming the focus of those studios, I feel like Arrow loses a little bit of its steam and momentum, because they have to like do all this weird shit where like his sidekick's son or like daughter becomes a son because of the multiverse stuff, and you just start to feel the weight of the show buckling under the whole like universe. It was a very down to earth show for a while, and then now it's like it's
I hear, like, I guess one of the last Flash seasons, they showed Ezra Miller made an appearance in the show as the Flash. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I wish I could have seen that episode. I might even look that up and watch that one episode just to see him pop in before the movie. I
figure by now all the stuff's got to be on Netflix, right? I mean, I think Netflix had the rights for a while for all, and they were even releasing them quickly. Like, you could get them like a few weeks after the series would wrap or something. So I don't know if I'll get there. Last time I was really watching those shows heavily is when I had a flight, and I would go on Netflix and just download all of them so I could get through I listened to like 3 or 4 episodes in a row, but man, I hadn't been there in a while. They're just so long. They just feel very...
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Because they're 45 minutes long. That's a lot to ask. Like, and there's like 30 or 40 episodes a season. It's like, come on. Like, you do not need to make...
It's like 20-something, but still,
yeah. But still, it's like, that's way too long, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of bloat in the storytelling. And, and they root all those stories in a lot of like the human drama side of it, and the every episode is peppered with the superhero stuff, and it just gets hard to...
It's a Power Rangers episode where it's like, we have to go to this location, and Barry has to run faster than he has ever had before to get this location to fight this Power Ranger bad guy and defeat him, and then do it again the next episode. It's like, but does this have to be the formula for every episode? Yeah, it does, apparently. Okay. And then maybe it might connect for a future down the road, and like, maybe they all are related, and it leads to the last conclusion episode, or maybe half of them are, but you don't know which episodes are related, and so you have to watch them all. It's just like, God, it's so exhausting. But I really did enjoy the first 2 seasons of The Flash. The first one, I think, was definitely the best season. But yeah, the second one was still pretty good too. But,
yeah, The Flash was what got me into the Arrowverse. I watched that first, and then I went back and did Arrow and followed up on some of those other shows. But we, speaking of 45-minute shows. We've been at our show for like 65 minutes, so
We did it.
maybe we ought to wrap it up for tonight, and we
Sounds
can
good, man.
retouch on all this stuff in
Yep.
2022.
Yep. See you next year.
Fantastic.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this, man. I love doing this with you every week.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's great when you have the other homies too that'll join us. And maybe next year we'll have our name for our show finalized. So
We'll
we can
figure it
have
out
a
eventually.
proper name or something, you know. So
We're getting
yeah,
there.
Yeah, so thank you again to our sponsor at FAMRA. Please download the app for free in the Apple Store, and it's a good time and it's free. So check it out.
Hell yeah, y'all. Well, thanks for having me. Have a great weekend and week, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace, y'all.